This is the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. With a starting MSRP price of about $25,000, the Wilderness trim, however, will cost you around $32,000. And the benefits with the Wilderness is, one, you get aggressive appearance package as you have this matte finish on the hood. You get these beefy racks right here that Subaru advertised should be able to hold up to 700 pounds. Perfect if you're overlanding. As an example, I have like a little pop-up tent up there. But in addition to that, you also receive all-terrain tires, raised suspension, about 9.3 inches of ground clearance, beautiful matte wheels, 17-inch wheels to be exact, and this can actually tow up to 3,500 pounds. And this being Subaru's rugged off-roader, interior also receives a nice little treatment. As Subaru says, the interior is water repellent. Let's go ahead and check out the Subaru Wilderness and talk about not only its features, but its internal hardware in terms of technology as well, because this is using the latest Subaru EyeSight, and there's a couple interesting things I'd like to show you. So here it is in its beauty, and something I just noticed, there's 3 windshield wiper sprayers right here. I normally just see 2. I've never seen 3 before. I thought that was kind of unique. Maybe it needs it for the additional camera right here for the EyeSight system. So there's now a new additional 3rd camera right there in the middle, where previously EyeSights were only on one on the left and right side and never had a center one. And from my feedback on it, after using Subaru's like advanced autopilot system, like lane keep assist, it actually does come in handy. I'll go over that in a little bit. But thanks to that camera, it's the reason why Subarus don't have like radar detectors or anything like that, like a big plastic square in the center of the grille, just for adaptive cruise control and stuff to work. It's all thanks to the EyeSight. They don't need to do that. But this matte stain or matte decal on the hood, this is standard for the Wilderness. Another interesting thing about the Wilderness package is the fact that this bumper is actually modular, not just the front and rear. As you see right here, there's actually openings that allows you to replace this bumper easily in case something happens. And this one definitely has seen some off-roading goodness. Not from me, maybe it was me, who knows? Nobody will never know, but you do get some decent skid plates right here. So for the Crosstrek, there's 2 engine options. The base will give you a 2.0 Boxster 4-cylinder. And this being the Wilderness, this comes standard with a 2.5, which has more horsepower. I do want to pop the hood, but I also want to cover this thing because there's tow hitches right here that are actually arrowed. We're going to pop them open because also the rear has them. I want to show you what they actually have because I have no idea what's behind them. I haven't yet opened them up yet, but we're gonna find out together. Taking my trim removal tool, because this is Subaru's car, not my car. So you do have access to tow hitches right here, where normally I believe you'll only see like 1 on most cars. This one actually gives you access to a total of 2 in the front. And then in the rear, yes, it also has the modular design, so you could take certain sections apart in case it gets damaged long term. But over here, yeah, we have just tow hitches or recovery hooks, locating points right there. That's pretty interesting. No spare tire on the bottom, but I want to say there is a spare tire in the hatch. Skipping ahead of the video right now because I'm curious if it has a full spare. It does have that, which is quite nice, privacy for your cargo. And we do indeed have a full spare, not a donut, an actual spare, but it's not using the same rims. Actually, these are somewhat smaller, but it's not a tiny donut. It definitely is not the same tire either. It's not the all-terrain, but there's a cool little cup holder right there. But I want to go back and talk about the exterior before we actually hop into more detail in the interior. So with the Wilderness package for the Crosstrek, it's set to give us more ground clearance. The ruler stick flew out of my hand, as it's supposed to have a 9.3 inches of ground clearance, but the base version is supposed to have 8.7 inches of ground clearance. And looking at it from here, it definitely does look like it if you include the little wind diffuser right here, as it definitely does come in close to the advertised ride height. But a little bit more if you remove that wind diffuser, I guess. That's what Subaru is including, which is not bad, but even the base Crosstrek was 8.7 of ground clearance. That's still pretty competitive. For instance, we recently reviewed the Chevy Trax and we had their off-roader version of it. It still was a front-wheel drive vehicle, but that one had a ground clearance of 7.3. So even the base Crosstrek has more ground clearance than that, but it's definitely a much longer vehicle with more cargo space that you're gonna see in a little bit. But now should be a good time to pop the hood and let's see how maintenance will be like in terms of changing spark plugs, doing your own oil change, and etc. Let's check out under the hood. See if I can do it single-handed. There we go. And we are using the stick as there's no hydraulics, but I personally prefer this because it definitely allows us to not have to worry about replacing them over like 1 decade. You have to replace them as they lose their shock. And the cool thing about this is you could actually use this to extend this hood even more in case you have to do some serious maintenance on it. As from my understanding, this can disattach and there should be another hole somewhere up here. Maybe it's this one right here that will allow you to connect it to this hole opening right here to really extend the hood even more like this. This is something that the BRZ as well as the Toyota 86 has, and I'm happy to see that they also have that ability here as well. But in terms of manifold cover, this is plastic, it's not aluminum, which is fine. Modern day manufacturers are doing that. Your air tank is placed right here. Not a lot of unnecessary plastic going over here, which is quite nice. There's a little bit of sand right here from the dunes. Your alternators right here, easy to reach and swap out whenever you need to. And the throttle body is located right here, which is quite nice. In terms of spark plugs, well, here's your oil filter. Super easy to grab, that's amazing. It's the beauty about Flat Force and their amazing sounding Boxer engines. You do have your dipstick right here. No dumb sensors like some BMWs. And your oil is located here to replace it. It's using 0W16 oil. Batteries placed in here, not in the trunk. I like that. And the fuse box is located right here. This is pretty neat. They actually provide additional fuses in case one does blow out, as well as the diagram right here where it should be properly placed, and your little fuse removal tool right there. It's pretty awesome that Subaru gives you this. But to have access to your spark plugs, it does seem like you're gonna have to remove this. But this doesn't seem too bad. It's actually fairly easy. You just remove their air intake box, the tubing, and then just remove this and a spark plug somewhere here. It doesn't seem bad. I also like the fact that the oil filter is located here. The only thing you need to be worried about is the drain plugs for your oil. And I'm sure they thought about something where it's easy to drain through, maybe this hole right here. But the skid plate, this is aluminum, it's not stainless steel or anything like that. And this is plastic, which is fine. It will definitely help protect the components from getting damaged in case you do find yourself in rough terrain. And it just continues on this section, and then past the transmission, it's just exposed, but your gas tank is covered as well. It's definitely easy to maintain, especially in like a small apartment setting, which I do like. Now the fog lamps on these things, they're interesting. They're just LEDs. They do help illuminate the road, but these headlights, for a vehicle of this price, these do swivel and these are extremely bright. However, if I could comment about the auto high beams, the auto high beams are not the greatest, as there's times where there's another car on the other side of the lane, like a 4-lane lane, driving towards me on the opposite side. These high beams would just go off and flash them. I don't like that, so Subaru needs to improve their auto high beams on these cars, but they're really bright. You don't even need to drive with your auto high beams, in my opinion. They do swivel, which is quite amazing too. But yeah, not a bad engine at all. 182 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. And then, just like every other Subaru, every Subaru is all-wheel drive except for the BRZ, including this one, which has some very advanced modes that I'd like to show you in a little bit. But in terms of performance number, they're not the greatest. 0-60, I believe, is like 9 seconds. You definitely notice it when you're trying to accelerate on the freeway. So just giving you a heads up. And gasoline type, it looks like you could use unleaded fuel, especially when the gas tank can hold up to 16.6 gallons. And the beauty about this gas door is it does lock with the vehicle. So if I go ahead and close this, and I go ahead and lock the car, this does not open. Yeah, it pops open a little bit, so you're gonna need force to really pop it open, but it's not gonna open unless you unlock the car. like that. So you do have your lobster claw tail lights, which is very Subaru. I like your cool little spoiler right here, as well as your rear wiper. And opening the hatch, in case you missed it, it's manual. You have to manually raise it up. It's not automatic. I don't mind. I personally prefer this. But back here, again, you do have cup holders on both right and left side. There is this little mounting port right here for here. But there's no like outlets back here. And it's not as big as like the Trax as the example. And I think it's even smaller than the Jeep Compass, which is another one of its main competitors. Now, some Crosstreks, the previous one I was driving, does have the space right here to actually put your privacy cargo slider back here alongside with your spare. So whenever you have to take it out, there's a cubby right here for it. But the Wilderness does not have space for this. That's why there's additional raise with the styrofoam where the privacy slider was able to slide in there. And then something I nearly forgot to talk about is this little dome light. You have the ability to turn it off from back here. I thought this was kind of cool, but I, for a second there, I just thought this was like a removable speaker or a removable flashlight of some sort, but that's pretty interesting. And you have your emergency manual release right here if it does get jammed. I should also fold down these seats. So there's, even though there's not a lot of cargo space, but when the seats are folded, there is a ton of storage space right here for people of just two. Like if it's just you and your spouse and are just using this car as a daily driver, look at this much storage space it gives you. I was able to fit a full-size mountain bike in here just fine. So if it's just you and the missus, this is a good everyday car. But as we go into the center row, let's see what we have here. So you do have cup holders right here for your rear passengers, as well as an adjustable headrest. There's no tunnel pass-through, unfortunately, but you do have little hooks right here for your baby seats if you need to. If you become a parent, congratulations, you have that, those safety features right there. Then over here, there's a little texture right here, a little mountain with treadwear. This is what's there to let you know that you could place your foot in here and confident if you need to reach the roof of your Subaru. I do like the fact these doors do support like large water bottles, as you see right there, not just for storage, but also for that. But there is no like vents back here at all. But you do have a USB-C, USB-A port. I love Japanese cars because they actually label it like the ampage right here instead of just giving you those ports. And I don't think there's vents in the bottom. Maybe there is. Typically with like economic vehicles, they do have vents back here, and then it looks like there is, but they're really pushed up there to the point where it's just a joke. It's not really gonna cool down your passengers efficiently like those front vents would. But moving back here, let's see, I have a good amount of headspace. I'm 5'8", and I have a feeling someone who's 5'10" will be able to sit back here comfortably. 6 foot, I will kind of question it. It does have like a downward slope, so just keep that in mind if you're really tall. But leg space, that's the position, the driver's seat position. I still have plenty of leg space back here, but I do drive like a race car driver most of the time, what my friends say, so I always have it straight up. I don't know why that's comfortable to me. It's very standard back here, but moving over here, yeah, you do have the gold trim. Since this is the Wilderness package, you have gold right here as well, with your shark fin antenna, which actually sticks up higher than the rack. I don't know if that's concerning or not. I've just noticed that. But yeah, it's said to be able to hold up to 700 pounds comfortably. Now back here underneath the Subaru logo is where you'll press to have access to your back, right? But next to it, there's a little lock button here, so you can actually lock the vehicle from the back by using this door instead of the key fobs or your door handles. But that button can also be programmed to actually use a pin. So if you're surfing and you don't want to carry your keys on you, because let's be real, that's how you're likely to lose your keys, you can leave them inside your car and unlock the vehicle, and then you can use the pin that you set up with your car to have access to it. This is very similar to like what Fords have, well, somewhat similar to like what F-150s have and such, with that number keypad on the side. Subaru thought about this and they integrated it here. Just like it's available on some Toyotas and the Subaru BRZ as we previously demonstrated. So to set this up, you need to take your Subaru key, long hold on the lock, and then long hold on this lock button. There you go, it beeps. And now we need to unlock, and then we can now enter our PIN. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And now it's asking us to confirm, so here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we just successfully locked the car from here. I accidentally locked it. So let me try this again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And I unlocked the car without using my key fobs. So if you notice, my PIN was 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 2. So 1, 11, 2. That was my PIN. So you could add as many pins as you want, so long as it's 1 through 9. So if you want to add like a 9, for example, you would just press that lock button 9 times when it's in the setup mode, and the vehicle will beep to give you feedback that it did it. So that's how you can set that up. Now I'm going to repeat the process and reset it so you guys don't guess this vehicle's PIN. The next step you want to do to lock the vehicle with your key fob inside is put the key fob in sleep mode. To do this, just hold down the lock button and then press the Subaru button twice. And now this light indicates, letting us know that it's disabled. So as you approach your car, it's no longer going to unlock itself, as you see, even if you press a little door sensor. And to reactivate it and get it off the sleep mode, just hit the Subaru unlock button, and it should work like it did in day 1. So again, just long hold the lock button and press the Subaru button 3 times, and it will disable the key fob. Now, before we get into the inside of the driver and passenger side of seats, I do want to comment on something. If you're planning on building one of these and you actually plan on using it for towing, you want to make sure you attach the 2-inch hitch. That's $50, because this one has the ability to tow 3,500 pounds, but there's no hitch underneath there. There's nothing on the bottom right here at all. It's just something that you have to personally check and make sure the one you're getting has it, or else you're gonna have to install a third-party one. Just something I've noticed. I'm surprised it's not standard with the Wilderness, especially with the improved transmission cooler that allows it to tow a little bit more than your standard Crosstrek. All right, so let's go hop in the driver's seat. Now the passenger seat, it's not automatic, but the driver's side is, which is quite nice. Let me readjust it right now slightly and turn on the car. Now, first thing first, the thing I immediately noticed is there's a lot of like imitation carbon fiber throughout the whole dash. It looks nice, but I mean, like, it's not real carbon fiber, but yeah, it is what it is. You do have your manual retractable sunroof right here, but it does support the ability to open up and tilt all the way. You can slide all the way back if you want that extra airflow. There is a nice little air wind diffuser right here, which is quite nice. Most vehicles don't have that. You do have this 11.4-inch massive Subaru display, which is okay. It's not really the best resolution because it is like, there's like a 2-inch, well, not 2-inch, but there's definitely a gap like an old school iPad, unfortunately. It's not using the modern, super close laminated touchscreen displays. And the system itself can be laggy at times. I've noticed it's not terrible, but I mean, like, in terms of today's standards, I'm not impressed, as it is a bit laggy, but you can override the auto start to stop. You can switch between different devices or add multiple devices in a clean layout. And then in terms of your rear view mirror, it's not automatic, it's manual, which isn't a bad deal, but you can upgrade this to an automatic if you want that. Now up here you do have Subaru's emergency SOS, which you press here in case you're in an accident that's really bad, you need medical treatment or medical attention, or something happened, you just need to get out of an emergency. You press this, and then this one next to it is less of an emergency, but can be an emergency. For an example would be if you have a flat tire, you need a tow, your vehicle is not responsive. those type of general emergencies, you'll want to press this. And then over here you do have the auto or disable your dome lights, but they go be manually pressed right here. And then right here you have your moon glass roof controls right here for your moon roof. And then if you purchase the car brand new, Subaru does give you 3 years of free service with the emergency buttons right here. Sun visors are pretty cool because these actually have these little sliders. I prefer this because I could easily extend my sun visors versus in just pulling this out and just making this portion a little bit useless. So I really do like the fact that Subaru has these in their cars, but standard like light dome mirrors, like always, your whole snap handle is located there. It's definitely a beautiful looking, gorgeous, modern looking interior. And glove box, you do have decent amount of storage. I was able to fit my 13-inch MacBook Pro in there. Now, some Subaru models, from my understanding, also have a 12-volt outlet right here, but this one does not have that. So check to see if yours has it, but this one, the Wilderness 2024s, do not. Wireless charging is optional. This one is equipped with it. And you have the override ability to turn it off or turn it on if you want. Because some of these old wireless chargers, you just place your device here and just overheat your device and take away power. I like the fact you can actually deactivate it if you just want a placement for your items. Auxiliary port, which is quite rare. This one actually has it. USB-C, USB-A, but it does have wireless CarPlay as well as Android Auto. Unfortunately, it only works wireless, no wired, unfortunately. Your 8-speed transmissions right here, automatic, CVT. You can put it in manual mode, as there is functional paddle shifters right here, which is quite awesome for a car like this. Steering wheel is pretty small. It's not big, but I kind of like it for these type of vehicles. In addition to that, you'd still have your traditional analog gauges, which I personally prefer than a whole digital one. And then your important information is located there. No heads-up display, of course, but still, you have all the important stuff right here, really, and that's all you need. You do have your sport mode and your intelligent mode selector right here on the wheel, which I kind of like. It's kind of funny because it shows you the graph performance right there in terms of these two different modes. But columns, of course, they haven't removed them. Push to start. There's no heated steering wheel, unfortunately. If there is, it would have been like a small tab right here that looks like it was tacked on. But in terms of this little small display, what it could show you, let's see. We can see our average MPG, so it's been 24 because this car was idling for a while. We have about a half a tank and we have 140 miles of range, not too bad. Temperature, audio playing, PSI, and time engine has been running for right now, as well as miles traveled during this trip. And that's basically it. Really basic outside temperature, and your throttle gauge is located right here as well. And then for your heated seats, they're located right here. They're using these old school Japanese toggle switches, which isn't bad. This does support the Subaru app, which allows you to precondition the interior. Just, I am unable to tell if this also includes heated seats because these are manual. I don't know if it will be able to override it. You still have a good amount of storage in here. It's just an empty bin, no ports for anything. Additional storage right here where you could place your phone or other flat items. Cup holders do have these weird like cup holder extenders. You could just put this down, and then this way it doesn't like hit the top portion of your water bottle or something like that, like a Starbucks cup. But you do have a 12-volt outlet right here. Just unfortunately it's right here, not right here. So if you have like a radar detector or something like that, you're gonna have wire dangling here unless you hardwire it. And there's no USB ports over here as well, like some modern day vehicles are doing now. Not just the driver's side, your passenger side is also automatic. So you can roll down the windows. Even their side of the door also is automatic as well. The seats do have a lumbar, and they do have a good amount of lumbar. So if you love lumbar, you're gonna really like these Subaru seats. But my complaint is the headrest is pretty hard, because right here you see it's embroidered with the Wilderness badging that Subaru has on this car, but it's kind of hard in my opinion. So I'm glad this car doesn't have a quick acceleration, or else I'd just be doing those. And these are not soft, unfortunately. This is a little heads up right there. But daily driving, they don't bug me or irritate me. I'm just shocked at how hard they are. So things that make sense about this touchscreen, just like our smartphones, if you long hold, it'll take you to the edit mode. And here you can rearrange like the apps that you want to use and like change around, switch around, or delete in general. Like over here, I made this shortcut right here, which I'll show you, where I can actually drag and drop and delete it entirely. But the native ones are unable to be removed, but it's not really such of a bad thing. You do have your like status bar on top, including the temperature outside. There's little widgets up here, which I do appreciate, which will show you today's temperature, vehicle data, or your media, if you're using Sirius XM. And you can access your X modes right here for like heavy snow, dirt, or deep snow. And the rear differential on the Wilderness is actually slightly improved too compared to the standard Crosstrek. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you want to create like your own custom shortcut, like I've done right here, where I could just tap right here, it'll immediately take me to the radio station I enjoy listening to, instead of saving it right here, you can actually favorite it right there, and I kind of prefer doing that. And the background is using the iconic Subaru background that's found on the badging of Subarus. The star one, that's what that is in the background. But to add shortcuts, you have capability to add radio, media, phone, apps, or even settings. Yes, you can also do that as a shortcut as well. If you wanted to quickly take it to your vehicle general settings, you could do that right there. I like the shortcut app. It's actually pretty smart. It's like iPhone shortcuts almost. You can even do app shortcuts as well. And if you're trying to find your traction control and stuff, it's not a physical button, not that I can see. It's actually located right here, where you can actually turn it on or off right here. And it'll actually update on the display too, that we turned off traction control. You could do the exact same thing to enable or disable auto vehicle hold, but it's also located right here. And then for the widget icon right here, where it's showing you vehicle's temperature, you can actually customize this if you want to change it up. Just go into your settings and go into the favorite widget, and you can remove which one you want to take out and swap it for something else. Like if you want to see your acceleration pedal, you can swap it right there to see your acceleration percentage, how much you're applying, or you can change it to the 3 weather hour forecast as well. And you can swap it with average speed, angle. If you're off-roading, the angle degree that the vehicle is facing, you could enable it right there. It's pretty awesome. I like the fact this is customizable. And then your goodbye or welcome screens, you could turn that off in the vehicle, in the general settings as well. And like every cool Subaru, you have the ability to remind you of upcoming birthdays, anniversaries even, so you don't forget. So when you turn on your car, it will remind you today's your anniversary, so you're not caught with your pants down and probably dead by your spouse. So you have that ability to include your birthday list or anniversary list. And then these beeps you're hearing, if you go in the sound tab, you can actually change how loud you want it to be. So if it's too loud for you, you could adjust that. You have that freedom to do so, or you can turn it off all entirely. So now as I'm clicking on my screen, it doesn't beep. And then if we hop into the car setting, this is where you can adjust the eyesight setting. So if you wanted to be more aggressive in lane departure, if you wanted to warn, buzz only, or do it all, you can allow it to do all functions. So if you're looking for these type of settings where you could adjust the cruise control, acceleration and such, it'll be located in the eyesight under the car tab. And then these headlights are definitely unique because I told you that they swivel. So as you're steering the wheel, one headlight will remain straight and the other one will actually steer to the right to give you visibility if you're turning. If you don't like that, if you like to treat it back to a traditional headlight, if you go still in the car tab in the settings, scroll down until you find steering respawn headlights. This is where you go in and disable that if you're not a huge fan of. But trust me, try it out. It actually works pretty well. So yeah, the beams will follow the steering wheel motors. This works extremely well, but if you don't like it, again, this is where you go in and turn that off. I know this is a common complaint I usually receive with older folks. Now, a feature that's turned off by default can be located in settings. In the car tab, I just noticed this is one touch lane, not that thing, one touch lane. So if we turn this off, you know, whenever you do this, it's going to be your full turn signal, right? If you light tap it, it doesn't do anything. It just instantly ends. But if you enable one touch lane and you signal left again, but you gently tap it, it's going to blink for a couple of seconds, just like that, and will automatically turn off instead of you having to activate it all the way. It's definitely a learning curve, but this is super interesting how you can enable that. All right, driving the Subaru Crosstrek, and this is the Wilderness. So I'm about to get on the freeway right here. Let me show you real world how the 8-speed CVT transmission behaves. So I'm still 40, 50, and 60. that was 0 to 60 in real time. So it's not really like a car that you may want to consider doing like passes on the freeway in case you have to pass like a slow driver. Just give you the heads up. Transmissions, all right. It's actually, I want to say it's one of the best CVT transmissions I've ever experienced. Normally CVT transmissions are usually sluggish. This one still has that, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near as bad compared to other manufacturers. Subaru did an okay job with this CVT. It's not Nissan's. And then when it comes to handling, the suspension is kind of soft. It's definitely soft, but I was able to outhandle a Nissan Altima, and let's just leave it as that. So slightly above average than your typical commuter car, but not a like extremely well handling car. And then one thing I almost forgot to mention is the blind spot monitoring system that this car does have. It's actually the inner one, but I sometimes mistaken it with the turn signal outer one, as that also illuminates amber and sometimes throws me off. It's just something that I'm sure an owner will easily get used to, but for me it's taken me a while to adapt. I also like the fact that the armrest actually is soft right here. Most of the time when I have my window open, I actually do find myself comfortably just having my elbow out. So here we are in normal like 2-lane road traffic, right? I'm gonna turn on the on-site system. So we have adaptive cruise control with the lane keep assist, just like autopilot. I forgot the name that Subaru calls this system. I'll have it in the video right there. But to activate it, I really do like how simple it is. All you need to do is just simply press on here with the little cruise control looking icon, set your speed, and it activates. And that's basically it. You just have to make sure that the green steering wheel is active, and then you do have to put your palm on the steering wheel so the car knows you're still with them. Like you're not zoning off, falling asleep and stuff. You need to put driver input on the steering wheel. It's one of those. It uses a sensor to make sure your hand is on the wheel. And it does an excellent job because there's been times where the freeway divides into like a new lane on the right, like you're seeing right here. And it does an excellent job identifying that that's the new lane, and it doesn't do a irresponsible like lane change, if that makes sense, like tricking the system that that's the current lane that we are continuing. So it's telling me to keep my hands on the wheel. This does a good job. My Teslas would do that sometimes. Whenever a new lane appears, it would assume that's the continuation to that lane. The eyesight from Subaru does an excellent job. And then if you want to increase the speed, you could just do this, raise it or lower it. Or you could long hold and it'll skip to like 5 miles instead of doing 71, 72, 73. Just long hold the plus or the negative, and it'll jump between 5 miles per hour, saving you the trouble from like just spamming that, which I think is quite nice. You can change the distance of the vehicle in front of you by this little arrow button right here. And it does do a good job on like whenever emerging vehicles come in, but I don't have that much faith in it. I don't really have that much faith in any autopilot system personally from experience, but I have seen it do a good job when other vehicles come in your lane while you have this activated. But I personally don't like allowing the engine. Raptor just passed by one of the new 24s. Looked pretty good. I'm excited for my order. Hopefully it gets shipped soon. A little spoiler right there. But no, yeah, it does a good job allowing cars to like merge in your lane and get out. But I still don't trust it. I don't trust like the computer at all. Driver's always at fault in something if something like this happens, regardless if you're using the system or not. But you can adjust the distance of travel in the car in front by simply just pressing this button. And I also like the fact that if you just want basic cruise control, just long hold on the cruise control icon and it will bypass that and will just strictly activate regular cruise control, not the lane keep assist that Subaru uses. So I think that's pretty nifty and pretty cool. But aside from that, even in traffic, if I activate it right now, I've seen it done a good job here on keeping lanes. Just I personally don't like using it, especially during traffic, due to just drivers in general suck. I'm sure everybody's going to cut off the system. It's going to leave gaps. People are just going to get in. It's just not my cup of tea. But if you like to rely on this for your daily commute, you can. Also, just like Tesla's, the brake pedal actually does go in as the vehicle is slowing down. I noticed some cars don't really do that. This one does, and I kind of like that satisfaction. And of course, you can always override it by you physically pressing on the brake. It just does not support lane changing. It was about to accelerate to the Mercedes, I think. I stopped it before it did anything. Man, this thing, it does not do car passes safely. It really does struggle. You need to give yourself a bubble just to get in on a fast lane. But yeah, aside from that, excellent computer. All-wheel drive, I like that being a standard option. If I live like in a snowy environment, slippery environment, or situations where I need all-wheel drive, but I'm not doing aggressive off-roading, this is definitely a good car. And that is the Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. It's not a bad car. It's really impressive, but it's only 183 horsepower, 0-60 in 9 seconds. It's not really the quickest car, but it's definitely the most easiest to maintain car with unique abilities. The additional ground clearance is pretty impressive, as I found I could park with confidence, especially in tight areas that have that annoying center block super close. This thing could easily drive over that without fear of scraping it. So I really do like the fact that this car gives you that ability without having a massive vehicle that takes up a lot of space. This is a nice size car. And then the eyesight, the latest generation of this eyesight is really impressive. Out of every vehicle I've driven, this one actually I could drive with confidence that it's not gonna randomly phantom brakes like Tesla's, and it's compatible on every highway, unlike Ford's. This is actually probably one of the most advanced ones that actually works as advertised. So the eyesight on these Subarus are actually really impressive, and it's super easy to use. You don't have to go through the settings or anything like that, or do some weird combination on the steering wheel just to activate it. This one, you just activate it like standard adaptive cruise control on a car. I really do like that. Now, if you'd like to watch more, another vehicle that actually plays well in terms of comparing another car against this one would be the Chevy Trax. I mentioned it briefly not too long ago. Only con to that car is that it does not have all-wheel drive. It's front-wheel drive only, but it does have a good, impressive ground clearance, and it's about $5,000 cheaper than this thing, and it has a little bit more cargo space. That's the Chevy Trax I reviewed recently over there. Thank you so much for watching.